We do college and NFL. We're just going to go for about a half hour today, just kind of go over the schedule. We've got, of course, college football going on now. It is kind of one of those weird days of college football. At least Fridays always are, this day after Thanksgiving, and then Saturday equally is crazy because of the rivalries. Tony, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. I like the results from yesterday. And of course, today was a little surprise here that Boise State didn't really come out and play well here against San Diego State. San Diego State, the team that we see struggle offensively, were able to get into the Mountain West title game.
Well, what we saw in that Boise game that I thought was, pretty strange was that Boise did come out really strong and they were playing extremely well. And then the San Diego State quarterback was injured. They put in Brookshire, and all of a sudden Boise didn't have any answers at all. And, we've seen turnovers and stops in a lot of these games where teams have kind of stood up, and it's been the home teams that have been doing it too. We saw in the Texas-Kansas State game, the Texas defense come up with two big fourth down stops. One on Kansas State going for it on their own 30-yard line, which I'm never a big believer in. And then the other one was down at the 20-yard line when they could have kicked a field goal and been 2 points down and played the same clock game they ended up having to play anyway, and it didn't work for them. But, just tough.
Yeah, Texas finishing. Remember those 5 and 7 teams. If we fall short, we need 82 teams to be bowl eligible. If we fall short, they may get the first call. You never know.
That's what they're hoping for. But
that's what they're. But
I think there are certain teams, and Lou Holtz was this way at Notre Dame. It was like, if we're not going into a big bowl, I don't want to go at all. It's kind of like, and somewhere that's gotten lost on a lot of these programs, and I think it'll be interesting to see who accepts it and who doesn't. And we have, some of these MAC teams that are going to be 6 wins and they're going to be in these games. And I know that a lot of times those 5-win teams end up being pretty good.
Yeah, and of course, one thing with those mid-majors, we got a lot of these 6-win teams going to be playing, or 6-win teams. You really got to get to 7 in these mid-majors. We've seen the MAC get snubbed a lot. With I think a few years ago, there was 2 MAC teams. There were 2 teams ineligible, and they were over 2. And for the 2 MAC teams that didn't go bowling with 6 wins. So one angle you have here is these mid-majors that have 6 wins, they got to get to 7. We saw that with was it Western Michigan against Northern Illinois. They had to get to 7 wins to feel safe to get a bowl.
Well, if there's not enough teams, do they still get to do it? You know what I mean? Do they still get to go to the 5-win teams? Do they still get to snub?
No. Yeah, if there aren't enough, all the 6-win teams are in. If the only way to go to 5-win teams, if there aren't enough bowl eligible teams at 6 wins, then they can go to the 5.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. So a lot of these teams that we're not sure if they would make it or not normally, some of these MAC teams and maybe even some of these Sun Belts.
As long as you've got 6 wins and they're under, you're at 82 or under, you're in. One thing to note too, that a 7-win team from any conference takes precedence over any 6-win team.
Well, how about if so UTEP is in, right? So how about if it's UTEP against, what's a 5-win, like a good big 5-win team like TCU or Texas or something?
Yeah,
like
Texas.
Like a mad TCU team. It's like the first not death threat, but the first ever "I hate you" came from the TCU fan base. It's the first one I ever got on YouTube. So they're tough. It's a tough crowd, and Jerry Kill's coaching over there. But that game should be starting. Has it already started? TCU and Iowa State.
That's 1:30 at the bottom of the hour. That's one, and that's one that I looked at the dog on, Mitch, +4. We have 3 games. Well, actually, we have a game that just started here. We have 3 games here for Friday. 4:30, it's TCU at Iowa State. North Carolina at North Carolina State is your 7 Eastern. Your 8 Eastern is the Washington State at Washington.
So I bet a lot. I bet a lot of the games today, and just a degenerate Friday afternoon. I mean, this is what we do. But the one college football game that I dumped on, it's from this show, is the Utah State New Mexico game. I saw Utah State was laying 17 points. It was like, this should be 27. And jumped on it.
That was my premium today. Was that one of them? And I heard you on the show earlier saying, "Is that it? It's Utah State?" Because they had that bad loss to Wyoming. Now they're back in the picture here with that Boise State loss. It's them and Air Force that will just find out who goes in and faces San Diego State.
Utah State doing a real nice job with their athletic program here to wind things up, because in college basketball they've been pounding some teams too early, I noticed. But we do have the 3 games left. We got TCU, Iowa State, North Carolina, NC State, and Washington State, Washington for the Apple Cup. Any of these that you're looking at? As Iowa gets a safety here on Nebraska, they're calling it an incomplete pass. It'll be interesting to see. They've dropped the flag in the end zone. Nebraska was up 21-6 in this game. This will make it 21-18, and it's been all Iowa here in the second half. Actually, Iowa got stopped. They fumbled. They took the opening kickoff of the second half. They were down 14-6. Took the opening kickoff down to the 20-yard line. Fumbled. Nebraska came down, a couple big chunk plays, touchdown, and then it's been all Iowa since. And now a safety here for Iowa to bring it to 21-18. Of course, Iowa a dog in this game. Doesn't even make sense.
I was a dog because, again, they're going with the quarterback situation with Padilla over Petrus.
Yeah,
that was he's coming in. So I think that we'll see what Scott Frost is. He'll have to go out a winner here because they're not getting no bowl game.
Well, so, I'm going to guess it's not. I don't think it's going to happen the way that this game has really, really turned. It's one of those things where you see a team just running downhill and not going to happen. Yep, Kansas loses to Dayton, the toughest team to handicap in all of college basketball. If Big Al's on your show today, I want you to ask him about that. Is it Big Al on your show today, the drive-through?
Al's Wednesday, Thursday.
Too bad. I'll have to ask him tomorrow. Then on our Saturday college football show, I'll just hit him with the from left field question about it, because I had a discussion with Al last week because I was battling the same thing that he was battling, and he actually asked me about it. He's like, "What are you doing about Dayton?" And I was just like, they don't fit anything for me, so I have to kind of just to pretend they don't exist. And now it's like they've been put in a position where you have to have them, because here they are. They lose 3 times in a row outright as a double-digit favorite. It's never happened before. Then they go in as a dog yesterday, beat Miami. I figured that Miami would win, but not cover. And then today they beat Kansas as a 15.5 point dog. I mean, I loved Kansas today. So I don't know, but so these 3 tonight: UNC, NC State, TCU. Anything here?
Well, what I would look at is definitely with the dog here at TCU at plus the points tonight, and we'll look at the current line in this one, and we got TCU getting 15.5 to 14.5, depending where you do your shopping. I think it's been a disappointing year for Iowa. There was a lot of hope for this team last couple of years. They haven't lived up to the expectation. Even worse this year, they could actually finish 6-6, which is a big disappointment here for Iowa State. But they went back. They're going back to Chandler Morris here. Dugan started against Kansas. Actually, they're going to sit to Morris here, and Dugan's going to start. He's been inconsistent, but had good performances against Oklahoma, SMU, and Cal. So I would look here with the dog, and in the Apple Cup, I know it's a tough to go on the road and win at Washington, but this Washington team is just a mess right now. I would only look at Washington State. I think the quarterback edge here goes to the Cougars.
They are absolutely terrible. I don't know. It's a coin flip for me. I go with Washington just because it's just they seem to show up for this one. I like TCU though. I think Jerry Kill. They end up with a great head coach there. I wonder if they get him to stay on. Remember, he had the medical issues at Minnesota where he kept passing out at the sideline. But, I mean, he really had the Gophers in good shape at that time. They had won the Little Brown Jug. They had won the Axe. They had kind of done everything. And then it was for medical reasons that he left. I did not even know he was on the TCU staff. I just figured he was retired. And then we see him back on the sidelines coaching again. And it's kind of like, man, this guy probably could have had one of those big SEC jobs if he really played his cards right.
Yeah, the way he turned around Minnesota, that whole culture, he got that defense performing at a really, really high level. And they still, to this day, they still play well defensively. It's just that quarterback position that's been holding up this Minnesota Gophers team.
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow when the Axe is unveiled. But we got a big card tomorrow. We got the game, Ohio State and Michigan. This one is for a lot higher stakes than even it normally is. And, normally this one is for keeps, but this one actually is going to be probably for, potentially a spot in the playoff is really what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it's going to come down to spot play. Both teams at 10-1. Of course, the winner goes to the Big Ten title game, so they got to win that game as well. So you're looking at 2 games in 2 weeks here, facing. And well, you look at Ohio State. They haven't really faced a really tough teams on the road here. The biggest test came in Nebraska 3 weeks ago. They came away with a 26-17 win. And their other major test was against Penn State, and they didn't cover that one. And I'm just thinking here, Mitch, that Wolverines defense can keep it close, keep this within a 1-possession game. I liked it better when it was +8, but I could only look at taking the points here with Michigan.
Nebraska's in trouble when they're starting to argue with the officials about the non-throwing of ticky-tack penalty flags. That's usually the desperation setting in. I like Michigan here against Ohio State. I've been anti-Harbaugh since the day he walked out there and before, in his days in San Francisco, and, well, even before that. But I think this is his best chance of covering against Ohio State. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just saying he's got a good chance of covering here. And I think they can win, too. I do.
Yeah, I really like the way they responded. When they gave up that late touchdown to Penn State in Happy Valley, and they came back and scored late in the game on that big play,
yeah.
I think that could be a big switch of their season right there.
I mean, you take back, 8 minutes in East Lansing, and these guys are undefeated,
Yeah.
And they're the one on the playoff looking out at everybody else. I think Ohio State has been vulnerable. They still have yet to really beat anybody. They beat Michigan State. I think they caught Michigan State. They were already down at that point,
We already knew about Michigan State's pass defense. We knew it was going to be a shootout, and the only way that Michigan State would win is if their offense were able to outscore Ohio State, because we knew they were going to give up a lot of points, and their offense fell flat.
Well, we've got a few more games in that noon slot tomorrow. Clean old-fashioned hate with Georgia taking on Georgia Tech, 35 points in that one. We got the War Canoe, Florida State. Got, let's see, Maryland Rutgers. I don't know what that is. That's like the Island of Misfit Toys. 2 teams that they stuck in the Big Ten because they didn't know where else to go. As Iowa has tied the game up against Nebraska, they didn't connect on a pass there. It hit the receiver. It was kind of like the quarterback got hit. He had a chance. But now it is 21-21, and Iowa, certainly with a ton of momentum here and a very good defense up against will be kicking off to Nebraska. Got, so Rutgers and Maryland, 2 teams that joined the Big Ten kind of out of, it was like, hey, we don't really have any teams.
Yeah, they didn't change the name. They kicked up to the Big Ten, the little 2.
Yeah, it's like we don't have any teams like in the New York metro area or in the Atlantic Coast region. Let's ask these guys if they want to come. Yeah. It's like so that's what they did, and they said yes. I mean, I don't know. So here you are with Rutgers at 5-6, Maryland at 5-6. We just talked about the bowl scenario. Someone's going bowling, and someone is going to be waiting for a call.
Yeah, and I think the one waiting for the call will be Rutgers, because I know both Rutgers' defense has just been beaten up. I know they played a really tough schedule, and I know I don't. And I said this last week with Maryland when they got blown out by Michigan. I don't trust their defense, but the Rutgers offense is so bad. I can only look at Maryland in this game only because of the quarterback. I think see the edge in quarterback with the Terrapins.
I don't like the way the Terrapins play on the road. They're gonna have to go with Rutgers here. Shiano's one of my guys. I know even though he went and took the Ohio State defensive coordinator job, he's still one of my guys. So I have to go with Rutgers here. Maybe it's just a homer pick. We got some other games in this slot. Navy, Temple, really not very attractive. We got Akron against Toledo, the top, the middle and the very bottom of the MAC. Boston College and Wake Forest. I saw my friend's son last week on the sidelines over on Boston College. He's the second-string quarterback. And Duke, Miami, Baylor, Texas Tech. I don't know. I think Baylor wins that game. I don't think they cover.
Yeah, it's possible there. I think it's Duke has just been a sorry team this year. I don't really want to. It's tough to lay this many points with Miami. Also, I would look definitely at Navy here. This Temple team is just they've just been terrible. I mean, one thing with Navy, 6 of their past 8 games have been a 1-possession game, so they've been in their games. And they've been competitive there. When you look at them covering 6 of their past 8 after switching their offensive coordinators, but this Temple team has just been a mess the way they've looked. Their run defense is bad also. They're giving up over their past 5 games, 5 yards per rush, 5.3 yards per rush. I think the midshipmen can run over Temple and extend the game and win by at least 2 touchdowns. At that'll cover the game.
I really think that the Army-Navy game should be moved back to Championship Saturday where they used to have it. I used to like it. It used to be the first game of the day on that Championship Saturday with that noon start time. Nothing wrong with it. It doesn't need its own day, and it doesn't need to be the in-between. Do that. Start the New Mexico Bowl right away, the Potato Bowl. Let's just get these things out of the way and get them moving. But Skip Holtz out at La Tech. They take on Rice, both 2, 3, and 8 teams. No one's going bowling there. North Texas at 5 and 6 gets a crack at UTSA. Old Dominion against Charlotte, 2, 5, and 6 teams there. So someone's going bowling out of those two. It's crazy, right? It's same thing. Georgia State and Troy. Troy at 5 and 6. They've kind of really hasn't even been like a relevant Troy team this year, but here they are at 5 and 6. Got a shot against Georgia State, who really isn't much this season. App State against Georgia Southern. Oof. This is UMass, New Mexico State. Nothing fun about that. FIU, of course, Butch Davis is gone. And, in some of these Miami chat rooms, they asked if, Butch Davis names comes up. And you have the two very separate camps on that one. We've got Illinois and Northwestern. This one's for the Sioux Trophy, right? Something like that. Got Oregon State. That's the Civil War. We've got Auburn, Alabama. That's the Iron Bowl. And Purdue, Indiana. That's for the old Oaken Bucket. Love the bucket. Love the bucket game. I have to say, I'm not a Big Ten fan, but they have some of the best trophy games. The Axe, Floyd of Rosedale, and the bucket. 3 of the best.
Yeah, they do. And I would look at Charlotte plus the points here against Old Dominion. But these are 2 teams here that are 2 5-win teams. You look here at the quarterback here. Chris Reynolds has put up some impressive numbers here down the stretch over his past 3 games. He's averaging 320 yards, 8.8 yards per attempt. So I would definitely look at Charlotte to keep it competitive in this game. I'll look at Oregon here, if it's still 7. Let me see what the line is. I believe it was still 7 in this game.
I got 7.
Yeah, 7. I would look at Oregon only because the Beavers' defense they've not been good on the road this year. They're giving up 300 yards a game, passing 8 yards per pass attempt, and all of Oregon's losses have come on the road. They're at home; they've won every game. So although they've had trouble covering, but this is the shortest number they've been a home favorite, Mitch.
Yeah, I kind of like Oregon State in that one to cover. I like Oregon to win the game. I like the over in penalty yards in that one. Normally some good personal fouls in that thing and a lot of people ejected. I like Auburn plus the points against Alabama too. I just think they show up for this, and they always do. It's, they're not just going to roll over, that's for sure. I think Bama's not going to the playoffs this year. Yeah,
the defense doesn't look that way. You just got to hope that TJ Finley, he's only completing half his passes. Alabama's going to get their points. You see Auburn able to score enough here to keep this under 21?
I think they can against that Alabama defense. I think that they'll be able to score some points. I think they'll be able to take it up the gut on them the way that Florida did. I think they're better than Florida, and I think that their defense will hold up a little bit better. And I think 20.5 is a ton. It's 3 touchdowns in a rivalry game on the road. And this isn't just a rivalry game. This is a real rivalry game. So I just think, in that sort of game, why not? It's worth a shot. Not a premium pick or anything like that. Also, Michigan State, Penn State for the land-grant trophy as well. It's tomorrow. So, but I could see Auburn holding up. But what I don't see holding up is Alabama against Georgia. Georgia can lose to Alabama and still be in the playoff, but Alabama can't lose to Georgia and still be in the playoff. At least you wouldn't think, and their only chance of making it, I guess, would be a scenario where they do it, where they make it. Notre Dame loses to Stanford tomorrow. Then the winner of Michigan-Ohio State loses the Big Ten title game. Oklahoma State, that winner loses in the Big 12 title game. as Iowa is now down inside the 15-yard line against Nebraska, ready to take the lead. As the Nebraska offense, the last time we saw them, I didn't say this, but they ran 3 plays. 2 of them were the exact same play. It's a play where the running back basically just runs straight across from wherever he's lined up, and then it's this pass to the side. The same play that Scott Frost used to run when he was at Central Florida that would go for touchdowns. It just doesn't work against this defense with the players you have. You know, it's a nice play if you got guys that run 4.2 40s and you're playing against the AAC, you know. That it works really well in that scenario. And I could see, and Miami used to run this play too. We used to run it all the time with Dennis Erickson out of the one back. Like we complained. I mean, back then it was like we were the only ones running the one back. It was like, oh my God, this guy runs the one back. What is this thing? And we had that same play, the slot play. We had a guy named Trent Jones. And then we had a guy named Tony Gator who played for the Patriots later on. Same thing. And just this little dink and just, but those guys ran like 4.2 40s, you know. They were shifty, you know. And then we had who else ran that play? Oh, Roscoe Parrish, who returned punts for the Bills and played receiver. Santana Moss ran that play. We had a bunch of guys that ran that play. Frank Gore ran that play. But I mean, it works with those type of guys. It's not going to work with these guys. As Iowa now inside the 5-yard line, 1st and goal. And the Nebraska fans look like, here we go again. Nebraska, I think, has more single-digit losses this season than anybody.
Yeah. And FIU's past 4 Conference USA games, they've lost by 23 or more. And I think they'll lose again. You can lay it with Southern Miss.
Well, the New York Jets, you know, gave up more points in their last 4 games than the 2000 Baltimore Ravens did the entire season. And
also too, I lay it with I don't know when that Hawaii game is. That Hawaii in that time time slot.
It is.
Yeah, I would take Wyoming. I don't like what I'm seeing here with this Hawaii team in the mainland this year. It's been terrible.
Yeah, but if Hawaii can get the win, then they can play in the Hawaii Bowl. I don't think at 5 and 8 they're going to get in.
It's 6 and 7. You think they can get in there with 6 and 7?
6 wins is bowl eligible.
Okay. I wasn't sure if 6 and 7 was okay. I have to look that up. If 6 and 7 was okay for them to get into the Hawaii Bowl.
Spencer Petras, who looks like he's about 4 years old, has just gone into the end zone for Iowa.
There we go. He's playing that.
Yeah, right? He looks like he's about 12. I mean, I know I'm getting old, but this kid looks like he's about 12 years old. But he's in, and he gets the touchdown.
Here, let's see.
It's like, you know when you're getting old, when the guys, like, the first time you realize you're getting old is when you're older than the guys playing in the NFL, right? It's like, yeah, I'm older than these guys. Then it's like, I'm older than, like, the old guys, old veteran baseball player, you know? Now
yeah, so Petras was listed as the backup going into this game, and it was Padilla. Was listed as a star. Okay, that's how it went.
Then you get like us, and it's like racehorses where it's like we used to bet against these guys' parents. You know?
Oh, I know. I know.
It's bad. It's like.
Do you find? I mentioned this the other day to someone. I think it was one of the shows that we both like horse racing. We both grew up reading the racing form at a young age. That training, looking at the racing form, has really helped my handicapping throughout the years,
especially for quick handicapping. You know, to do it over when you're doing bulk and you're just trying to get it. And like, because people ask me to look at games while I'm on shows and stuff, and I think I'm able to do it from the form. It's not as good and as thorough as my regular handicapping, but I find that it still can be effective.
Yeah, it's just those principles and knowing what to look for. You get massive information, and this is really what it's getting down to.
You have the throw-out race too. You know, in regular sports, you have the throw-out race. It happens. You know, the aberration, the glitch on the thing. It happens. You know, we see it. You know, once in a while.
Our second race off the layoff. We see these injured players. They don't play well, but it's the second game where they really come in strong. Yeah, we've seen that.
Also, the jump in class.
Yeah, that's a big one. The jump in class, boy, that helps me a lot, especially in baseball. You see it a lot too when you're facing these really tough pitching staffs, and then you go face the Orioles or or some of these lower echelon teams where you can lay a -20 on the road and win because you see it's such a huge drop in class when you not only the starter but the bullpen, right? I mean, that's something that I use that method a lot in baseball.
I agree with you. And it's probably a lost art because just horse racing just isn't where it once was.
Yeah, but if you learn how to, if you're just getting started and you start handicapping the horses and look at the racing form, you get those principles apply to sports betting. Because it all comes down to there's so much information out there, Mitch. It's really important what is pertinent to the game to handicapping and betting on.
The best handicappers that I know, the guys who are real, I mean, I know guys that win and lose and all that stuff, but the guys who are really the best handicappers, those guys know the horses too. Like Big Al, he can sit there and he'll rip right through the form with you. He can go through the entire thing. It's like, there's a lot of numbers on there. There's a lot of things to look at. And some things are, some things are more important than others. I'm usually, the one thing to me in horse racing that a lot of people look at that I don't put as much into is the bullet work.
Yeah.
I don't put as much into it. It's like, what if there only 4 horses ran that day?
Yeah.
They're
not looking to fire hard on the workout, right? You can't really do that. And who's timing the workout too? It's not always. It's a lot.
There's a lot there for me. The bullet work, it's never the deciding factor for me. That's for sure. No. I know some people say, look at that workout,
I think it's been exposed a little more. It used to be more so in the 70s, 80s with the bullet. It was such a big deal. You would see the tote board, you would see the money go on the bullet. But I don't think it's as much because I think everyone's so afraid of their horses getting hurt. Of injury prevention. We're not seeing them fire hard in the mornings as much.
The only horse that I think I ever went on the bullet work was Lure in his maiden, and he won by a mile. But then after that, I knew that he was in the bad spot on the mud. And after that first race where he crushed everyone in the works, it was like a great place to go against him. And, after that race on the mud, he never ran on the dirt again. They never ran him on the dirt again. He became turf champion. I mean, it was unbelievable, of course. But anyways, let's wind down these college football games. We don't have a ton of time left. I got to do some soccer show videos.
All right.
A new thing for me. I don't know nothing about soccer. West Virginia against Kansas. LSU, Texas A&M. This is the one that changed the overtime rules in college football. Louisville, Kentucky battle the Bluegrass State. Bedlam series, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma State favored this time around.
Yes.
Syracuse, Pitt, interesting because Syracuse, pretty big market, even though they're not geographically, upstate New York, not a big market, but their fan base is big market. New York City, 5-6. I like them on the money line here. And Memphis, Tulane, South Carolina, Clemson. South Carolina's playing some good football. And got Stanford, Notre Dame. Definitely, if a 2-loss Alabama team wants to get in, they're rooting like crazy for Stanford there. Colorado State against Nevada. UCLA, Cal, and USC, BYU winds down this year's regular season college football schedule. Well, actually, Cal plays USC next
week. Yeah, because that game may mean something.
Louisiana plays someone or something, and Cal.
Yeah, that game may mean something. If Cal and USC wins, then both will be 5-win teams when they play next week. But the bottom games, I like over. BYU and USC over, and I like Cal and UCLA going over the total there. And going back here to this Virginia Tech, I'm going to get in with these totals. I like this one over as well in a late season game with these two. And interesting one here with this LSU and Texas A&M. That's a really tough spot for that quarterback. For Texas A&M quarterback here, Calzada, having going into LSU in a primetime game. LSU 1 win away from bowl eligibility. I would look to take the points here with LSU.
They love Coach O, and this is it for him. And it's like if they lose, they're probably not going to go to a bowl game. They might, but I don't.
They might be the one, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll coach the team. No, if that's the case, I don't know if they'll give him that.
The home road splits with Calzada is telling here. He's only completing 53% of his passes, 5.2 yards per pass attempt in his road games. And they've really struggled to convert third downs, again, with the quarterback. 31% conversion rate on the road. And this is a very tough road environment, Mitch, in this spot here.
How about the Bedlam series here with Oklahoma, dominating this series against Oklahoma State? And this really is the best Oklahoma State team that I've seen. I'm not saying that, the Barry Sanders team, the Thurman Thomas team, those are the Jimmy Johnson teams. A little bit, different type of teams. But this team really, and Les Miles had a good Oklahoma State team that actually won a Bedlam game. It's rare that Oklahoma State wins a Bedlam game. It's very, very rare. They've been favored before, but this year, I really believe it. It's like they have a good defense.
Yeah, you nailed it.
You
nailed it. I mean, look at the defense and look at like I said, we talk about with Horse. I always look at current form. Look at their current form here against the past three big 12 teams, giving up 222 yards. Remember, Oklahoma's only loss came against another good defensive team in the Big 12 in Baylor. They were held to 260 yards. In a 7-point win against Iowa State at home, they were held to 300 yards. So against the defensive-minded teams here, I could only look at Oklahoma State, Mitch, with you. I'm with you there.
I'm with you. And, the Oklahoma quarterback play, I just don't see it cracking that defense either. Got a replay here in Nebraska, Iowa. Looked like a completed pass, possibly for a first down, or he's out of bounds. It's going to go one way or the other. Of course, he's got 1 foot. Did he have control? Oh. So it's when the foot touches. Does he have the foot touches? Oh no, yeah, that's going to be incomplete because the ball, his foot touches, it comes off the ground, then the ball leaves his hands and comes back in. Yeah, this one's going to come back. But
going back to that Pitt-Syracuse game, Pitt already knows their fate. They're going to go to the ACC title game next week, and Syracuse needs this game, 1 win away from bowl eligibility. We've seen Syracuse struggles, but they've been on the road here. And at home, they've been able to cover all 3 ACC games on their home field. And I'll look to take the points with Syracuse.
I like Syracuse on the money line. Dino Babers, I think he needs this win. And in Syracuse, I think the TV networks need this win too. So I'm going to go with Syracuse here. Headed to the Pinstripe or the Fenway.
Yeah, I was going to say.
How about the Fenway? The Fenway.
Yeah, they would love them at New York, right? I was about to say that they need to sell seats there in Yankee Stadium.
The Fenway Bowl is an interesting one, the new one, right? The Fenway Bowl. It's like we have a couple bowls where people are gonna freeze their ass. Let's do another one. Let's go a little further north. Maybe soon they'll have like the Northern Quebec Bowl. It's like outside on a frozen pond.
But, they could probably get an Igloo to host a game in Rich Stadium. But they don't call Rich Stadium in Buffalo anymore.
Oh man! But anyways, we're gonna wrap it up for today. Tony, thanks again. We'll see you next Friday. We'll have conference championship games. So it's not really college football Saturday as far as I consider it, but it's still going to be conference championship games. Do you have anything for the NFL? Any quick picks?
Yeah. I was look here at the NFL here. There was a game here that stuck out to me. I'll look here to go ahead and take there was a dog. I like the Steelers as a dog against the Bengals.
All right. I think I like that one too. The Bengals won the first one, and the Steelers, they don't usually get swept by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Not at all.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Tony, and thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next Friday. We'll have Joe Madden will be back with us next Friday. She is at a football game. We wish her luck. No alcohol will be served at the game.
I'll be brought in.
We love you, Joe. Don't worry about it. It's like, except when you don't have your coffee. Oh.